from the broadcast studio, hitting in the static. This ain't no bedtime story, son, it's prophetic. Encrypted signals from the shadows of the garden. We dig where the dirt got secrets, no parting. Microphone alchemist, scriptures with a twist. Peep the frequency, seeds in the mist. We drop bars like plagues, revelations in the cadence. Broadcasting truth while they trapped in surveillance. Wisdom with a watchman's blade. Fourth watch style while your whole system fade. Blood moons, Nephilim, echoes in the pine. Sasquatch stomping through the fault lines of time. We ain't mainstream, we ancient stream. Cypher with the prophets, decode the dream. So if you tuned in, better guard your mind. It's broadcasting seeds and we breaking the design.
You know that feeling when the night air gets so still, it almost listens back. The road is empty, the trees lean in, and you swear something is pacing you just outside the headlights. Welcome to Broadcasting Seeds. I'm Bennett Tanton, and tonight we are chasing one of those stories that refuses to die, even when the main character already has. The Headless Horseman, not just Sleepy Hollow, not just jack-o'-lanterns and Halloween merch, but the deeper current under the campfire tale. Because every legend has a root system, and if you follow it far enough, you usually hit bedrock. Trauma, faith, war, the strange way places remember what people try to forget. Here's the promise. We are going to peel back the old world writers that carried their heads in their hands and spoke names that meant death was coming. Then we cross the ocean and ride headlong into young America with fresh battlefields and a habit of turning pain into ghosts. Finally, we take the hard turn into the spiritual and symbolic. Decapitation is not just gore. It is an image of a culture that has lost its mind and then wonders why the body keeps stampeding. This is the unseen war. This is why the story still works. I'm not here to sell you a jump scare. I am here to lay out the threads and let you decide what knots are real. We will touch folklore and battlefield reports. We will talk about Washington Irving and why he had perfect timing. We will pick up the trail of the Irish Dullahan, the German revenant, the Scottish soldier who rides the moor. And yes, we will ask the question that bites a little. If your town, your family, your nation takes off the head, what is steering the horse? If you're new here, welcome to the show where high strangeness meets kitchen table honesty. If you have been writing with me for a while, you already know the drill. We do not chase weird. We just feel weird. We chase it to get wise because stories like this are mirrors most of the time. Sometimes you look in and see a ghost. Sometimes you look in and see yourself ducking under a low branch, praying you make it home before something catches up to you. Do me a solid before we spur forward. Please hit like, share this with a friend who loves the strange, and drop a quick review wherever you are listening. That is the fuel that keeps this horse moving and helps the show grow. All right. Saddle up, keep your head, keep your light, and listen close to the road. Section 1 echoes before Sleepy Hollow, the headless riders of the old world. Now, before America ever heard the gallop of the Headless Horseman, Europe was already echoing with the sound of ghostly hooves. This wasn't a single story. It was a whole family of them scattered across the old countries like fragments of a nightmare everyone somehow shared. The Irish called him the Dullahan, a dark fairy or demon who rode a black horse with eyes like burning coals and a whip made from a human spine. No head on his shoulders, he carried it in his hands. They said when he stopped riding and called your name, you died before dawn. The Scots had their own version, Ewan the Headless, cursed to ride the Isle of Mull, still reliving the moment his head rolled in battle. The Germans told the Wiederganger, a revenant rider whose neck wound glowed faintly in the dark, a soldier who didn't realize the war was over. These weren't campfire stories for kids. They were warnings. They were about death that wouldn't stay buried, about men torn apart by violence so deep that even the afterlife couldn't absorb them. And underneath the horror, you can hear the whisper of old religion, the pagan roots that tied the rider to Samhain, to fertility rites, to blood and harvest, to the thin line between life and whatever comes next. The church tried to sanctify it and rebrand it and failed. Because how do you bless a story that rides straight through your doctrine, dragging a severed head behind it? There's something archetypal about that image. A body without a head. It's chaos ungoverned. Strength without direction, rage without reason. You could say the old world invented these figures to explain what happens when men lose their souls in war. When humanity gets replaced by instinct and vengeance. In a way, the Headless Horseman was the first PTSD ghost, haunting the very landscape that created him. These weren't monsters. They were reflections of what battle did to people when there was no language yet for trauma, no therapy, just superstition and silence. So when the myth crossed the Atlantic, it didn't come empty. It came loaded with centuries of pain, blood, and mythic energy. Ready to find new soil. And that soil was America, fresh from its own war, with its own dead who couldn't rest. Section 2, The Ghost of War, Sleepy Hollow and the American Psyche. When Washington Irving wrote The Legend of Sleepy Hollow in 1820, America was still shaking the powder off its boots. The Revolution had ended only a generation earlier, and the War of 1812 had just burned fresh scars into the national psyche. The country was young, idealistic, and already haunted. Into that landscape rode the Headless Horseman, a specter born from both folklore and the hangover of war. Irving didn't invent the ghost. He gave it a new uniform. His horseman was a Hessian mercenary, one of the German soldiers hired by the British to fight the colonists. According to the story, he lost his head to a cannonball and now rides the Hudson Valley searching for it. It's poetic, right? A foreign soldier decapitated on American soil, doomed to wander a land that wasn't his to begin with. But behind the fiction lies something deeply human, the collective haunting of a country still learning what violence costs. Soldiers didn't come home with words like shell shock or trauma. They came home with silence, and stories filled the gaps. So people started seeing things like on battlefields, shapes on the road, figures that vanished when you got too close. Maybe it was superstition. Maybe it was memory refusing to die quietly. Sleepy Hollow, New York is a real place. And it was thick with old Dutch superstition. Irving lived there, soaked up the whispers, and turned them into literature. But he was doing more than telling a ghost story. He was turning unspoken grief into mythology. The Headless Horseman became the perfect metaphor for a young nation, brave, restless, and utterly disconnected from its head. America had won its freedom, but it hadn't yet found its conscience. Think about it. A soldier who died, soldier who lost his head in the fog of war, cursed to repeat the ride night after night. That's just a spook tale. It's a symbol. That's not just a spooky tale. It's a symbol. The horse is momentum. The missing head is direction. It's the story of what happens when a society moves fast, but forgets why it started running in the first place. The Headless Horseman rides because we do. So maybe Irving didn't just write about a ghost. Maybe he diagnosed a nation. The Headless Horseman was the first American monster, born not from superstition, but from the things we refuse to face. Every generation since has kept him alive because every generation has its own kind of war. Section 3, Decapitation, Symbolism, and the Spiritual War. Decapitation is one of humanity's oldest and most chilling symbols. It's not just the removal of a head, it's the separation of the body from reason, the spirit from purpose, and the soul from guidance. Across cultures and scriptures, the act of losing one's head has always meant something deeper. Think about David holding up the head of Goliath. Think about John the Baptist silenced by Herod's pride. Even in myth, from the Celtic gods to the Greek titans, the severed head often represents a transfer of power or the price of defiance. So when we look at this Headless Horseman, we're not just staring at a ghost, we're looking at a warning. The old world saw the head as sacred, the seat of the soul. To lose it was to lose divine connection. And if you look around modern culture, that imagery still fits like an ill omen. We've built a world that runs on momentum. You got information, noise, dopamine, data, a horse galloping at full speed. But ask yourself, who's steering? The horse is more than a campfire. The horseman is more than a campfire story. He's a mirror held up to a civilization that's lost its spiritual compass. When your culture forgets its creator, its morals, or even its history, what's left to guide the charge? The body keeps moving, but the head is gone. In spiritual warfare terms, the Headless Horseman is a perfect symbol of disconnection. The kind that creeps in quietly, one compromise at a time. We lose truth. We then lose conviction, then discernment. And before long, we're just riding through the dark, led by muscle, memory, and fear. And maybe that's the real deception behind this old legend. Not that a ghost rides, but that we stopped noticing we've been riding with him all along. The Bible talks about strong delusion, about people trading truth for spectacle. Maybe the horseman isn't chasing us. Maybe we've joined his procession, hypnotized by the rhythm of the hooves. That's what happens when you remove the head, the connection to the divine, and let instinct take the reins. Every empire has fallen. Every generation that drifted did so when it lost its head first. So next time you hear that story, the thundering hooves, the rider with no face, don't just picture a ghost from the past. Picture a warning. The war for your soul isn't fought on battlefields anymore. It's fought in your focus, your faith, and your attention. And the moment you lose sight of who you are and why you ride, you're already in a shadow. And that's where we end tonight's ride, friends. On the edge of the road between history and the unseen. The Headless Horseman isn't just a ghost from the past. He's the echo of every age that's lost its way. Whether it's an ancient battlefield, a haunted valley in New York, or the chaos scrolling endlessly on your phone. The pattern's the same. We run faster, shout louder, and wonder why we can't find our heads. Maybe the legend endures because deep down, we know it's still talking about us. If you take anything from tonight's episode, let it be this. The war between light and darkness doesn't always look like demons and angels. Sometimes it looks like a man galloping blind through the fog, pretending he can see where he's going. The cure: slow down, look up, reconnect, because discernment is the one weapon the darkness can't counterfeit. Thank you for riding along with me through another journey into the strange and symbolic. If this episode planted a seed, share it, like it, review it. That's how the show grows and how more people stumble into the kind of conversations that might just wake them up. I am Bennett Tanton, and this has been Broadcasting Seeds, where folklore meets faith, and every ghost story hides a little truth. Keep your lantern trimmed, your head on straight, and your spirit alert, because the road ahead is darker than it looks.
The shores of Mull, where the cold winds bite, steel met flesh in the dying light. A warrior fell, his fate long spun. Now he rides through mist till the judgment's done. His sword still sings through the highland rain, echoes of loss and the ghost of pain. No face to wear, no grave to claim, just fire in the clouds and a whispered name. Ride, it went right through the storm and the sorrow, bound by the curse of no dawn, no tomorrow. Ride, it went right through the fog and the flame, forever they'll cry out your name. The clans still speak when the fires burn low, of a rider who haunts where the peat bogs glow. Some say it's vengeance, some say it's grace, but all feel the chill when they see that place. He's the echo of men who fought too long, the broken note in the piper's song. And when thunder rolls o'er the Hebridean Sea, you can hear him call, remember me. Ride, you went right through the storm and the sorrow, bound by the curse of no dawn, no tomorrow. Ride, you went right through the fog and the flame, forever they'll cry out but not his soul.